Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
We see you, Dave. Can you hear us?
I do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Apologies to all.
No, we're good. All right, good morning. Welcome to the Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for July 24, 2024. And our first item is the minutes from our meeting of July 17th, 2024. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. There are 5 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a replacement tariff from AT&T Enterprises LLC. Item number 2 is a notice of transfer of control from United Federal Data of Maryland LLC and Cablevision Lightpath LLC. Item number 3 is a notice from various telecom companies of participation in financing arrangements. Item number 4 is a request from IP Keys Power Partners LLC to cancel its electricity supplier licenses. And item number 5 is a request from Wakefield Solar Energy Center LLC for a waiver of an operational deadline.
Okay, regarding item 1, I move we accept the tariff for filing with an effective date of July 26, 2024. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Regarding item 2, I move we note the transaction. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Item 3, I move that we note the applicant's participation in the financing arrangements. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Item 4, I move we approve the cancellation, license cancellation request. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. And regarding item 5, Mr. Bugelman, let me ask you one question before we do. So this one seemed a little different because it had to do with, I guess, a missing piece of equipment. I guess what I need to know is how confident you are that if we move the operational deadline, that the equipment issue is going to be resolved.
Thank you, Chair Hoover. The expectation is yes, it will be resolved. Understanding is the developer is moving forward with securing the replacement panels and the engineering work's done. So we've requested an extension until the end of the year. We think that is sufficient to allow this to get across the finish line.
Okay, all right. Okay, with that, I move we grant the company's request to delay the operational deadline for its community solar project from the existing deadline of June 18th, 2024 to a new deadline of December 18th, 2024. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
And we will take items number 6 and number 12 together. Both concern rates from the Pepco rate case in case number 9702.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. David Hoppeck on behalf of staff. Pepco made its compliance filing in case 9702 on June 20th, 2024. The filing provides the proposed distribution rates effective April 1, 2024, rate year 1 reconciliation rates from case 9655 effective July 1, 2024 through March 31, 2025, and case number 9655 rate year 2 reconciliation rates effective from April 1, 2025 through March 31, 2026. The filing also includes the approved administrative adjustment, which increases the SOS administrative charge effective July 1, 2024. Staff has reviewed the proposed distribution rates and finds them consistent with order number 91181. Regarding the case number 9655 rate year 1 reconciliation, staff sent Pepco a data request for rate year 1 reconciliation rates effective from August 1, 2024 through March 31, 2025. Staff supports the rates provided in the data request response. Staff recommends that the Commission 1, adopt the proposed base distribution rates with an effective date of April 1, 2024. 2, adopt the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates as amended by staff effective from August 1, 2024 through March 31, 2025. 3, accept the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates effective from April 1, 2025 through March 31, 2026. 4, accept the proposed SOS administrative adjustment rates effective July 1, 2024. And 5, adopt the tariff revisions proposed by staff. Staff recommends that the Commission require PEPCO to file clean copies of its tariff. I'm available for questions. For item 12, my understanding is Mr. Greger is also available.
Okay, so any questions for staff? All right, so let me go to OPC first, and then we'll finish with the company.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Jacob Auslander on behalf of the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. On the item 6, the compliance filing, OPC fully supports staff's recommendations for the reasons that staff has provided and doesn't have anything more to add.
Okay, any questions for OPC? All right, Ms. Curry?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Kim Curry, representing PEPCO. Our filing, our compliance filing, did not have an expiration date on it, which leads into the conversation we'll be having on our expedited clarification request to have the Commission clarify whether or not March 31st is an expiration date or whether the rates approved in the June 10th order continue until our next rate case. So approval of the compliance filing kind of depends on that particular question because our filing assumes no expiration date.
Right. Understood. So any questions for PEPCO? All right, so we're going to deal with the items 1 through 6 that Mr. Hoppick described, and then we'll turn our attention to the expiration date, so to speak. So, I move that we, 1, adopt the proposed base distribution rates with an effective date of April 1, 2024, that we adopt the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates as amended by staff in its comments dated July 17, 2024, effective from August 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025, that we accept the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates effective from April 1, 2025 through March 31, 2026, that we accept the proposed SOS administrative adjustment rates effective July 1, 2024, that we adopt the tariff revisions proposed by the company, and finally direct the company to file clean copies of its tariff. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. Aye. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. All right, so go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. James Greger on behalf of staff. Staff filed a letter in regards to PEPCO's expedited request for clarification of order number 91181 on July 22nd, 2024, this Monday. So staff agrees with PEPCO's understanding of order number 91181 to the extent that the most logical interpretation of the order is that the Commission did not mandate that rates that are set to expire do not expire on March 31st, 2025. That would necessitate a new rate case application to be filed no later than September 3rd, and I don't think that's what the Commission intended. In regards specifically to the expiration date issue, staff agrees with the company that no expiration date should be included in its tariff pages. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? All right, OPC.
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Jacob Auslander on behalf of the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. We agree with what Mr. Greger just said. It was our understanding of the Commission's June 10th order that rates have now been set for PEPCO, and those rates should remain in effect unless a new base rate application is either filed by the company or by an outside party making a motion to the Commission. We do have, I guess we're still unclear exactly how the Commission intended the reconciliation process that it mentions in its order is intended to work, and we pointed out some problems or some concerns that we had with the way PEPCO was reading the order. And by way of explanation, in a multi-year rate plan case, the way the reconciliation periods work is at the conclusion of a reconciliation, there's either a charge or a credit that's calculated that is put in place for, I guess like a 12-month period until a new reconciliation is put in place. So I don't think that the commission has actually had an opportunity yet to determine how the reconciliation mechanism would work in the context of a utility moving away from a multi-year rate plan rate structure to a different rate structure that, such as a historic test year rate structure that does not have a reconciliation mechanism built into it.
Any questions for OPC? Oh, Commissioner Fleshman.
Good morning, Mr. Auslander.
Morning.
And so you believe that this is something that we need to resolve today, as opposed to something that can be taken up at some later date?
Well, I think that it's possible that it could be taken up at a later date, but I do think that it would be helpful if the commission did provide some direction to the parties so that we could understand exactly what the commission intended when it used the wording that it used in the June 10th order, especially on this issue of how the reconciliation is intended to work in this particular case. I do think, to your question, I do think that if we, if the commission could give a very high level or a general sense of direction to the parties, and then when we do the reconciliation process that the commission has intended, if we see what the company is proposing, if this is a 6-month surcharge or an 8-month surcharge, and we are comfortable with the calculations that the company has provided, I think that's what we were envisioning and hoping that the commission intended with this reconciliation process. I think what we're concerned about is that at the end of this reconciliation process, a increase to rates may be approved and essentially would be approved outside of a base rate case as a permanent rate moving forward.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
sure.
Anybody else? All right. So, Ms. Francis, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Fran Francis from AOBA. Good morning. And on regard to the first issue, asking for clarification, we support OPC. We think this was a stated rate, and it was not intended to expire. So it will go on until PEPCO files its next base rate. When it comes to the reconciliation, we do not believe a reconciliation is necessary because this is the stated rate that will continue in perpetuity until the company files its next base rate. When we were reviewing the order, we could see that the commission was struggling to find numbers in the record that it could support, and finally they settled on sort of a hybrid of what Mr. Efron was recommending in an off-ramp provision that was ultimately, I don't want to say supported by Witness Lemming, but Witness Lemming agreed that that was an approach the commission could take. Normally, in a traditional test year case, there is no reconciliation. So we don't believe that reconciliation is necessary or appropriate when you have a rate increase that goes on in perpetuity.
Any questions for AOBA? Seeing none? Ms. Curry.
So to the first point, that the rate approved in the June 10th order does not expire on March 31st. We agree. So it looks like all the parties, staff, OPC, and AOBA all agree on that point, that rate will continue until our next rate case. As it relates to the reconciliation, how the company sees cost recovery as a result of this order is really kind of two things. One, after March 31st, the rate from the June 10th order will continue until our next rate case. That's one cost recovery stream. The other one is the reconciliation. And what we would envision is that 120 days after March 31st, we would file a reconciliation filing, and the process or the period over which to recover that reconciliation would be determined on a case-by-case basis. And that's the way it's done today. That's what's done in your orders on the MYP, setting up an MYP. That's the process that's in place today, and we would say just continue that process. As to AOBA's statement that a reconciliation is not needed, I would say AOBA's out of time. In your order approving, or in your order on June 10th, approving the rates that are before you today, you indicated that we will get a reconciliation. And so if AOBA had an issue or wanted to contest that, they should have filed a request for rehearing within 30 days of that order, indicating their dispute with the reconciliation process. But that's how the company would see the reconciliation. 120 days after March 31st, make a filing, and then the recovery period would be determined at a later date on a case-by-case basis.
So, any questions for Pepco? Alrighty, so we are actually going to take this under advisement since I'm concerned about being precise in what we indicate to the parties as to the next steps. But I understand the time sensitivity, so this is not something we're going to sit on for some period of time. We'll get something out fairly expeditiously, but we're not going to make a ruling on it today. So.
May I ask one point of
Sure.
clarification, Your Honor? Is the additional time just for the reconciliation part or for the whether or not this is a stated rate or not? Because, as I mentioned, all the parties seem to agree on that point.
Well, let me just hold off, and once we get a chance to sort of discuss this internally, we'll try to answer all the questions that have been brought up today. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Item number 7 is an updated electric vehicle charging rider from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. On June 21st, 2024, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed a proposal to remove its commercial fleet smart charge management program from its tariff, Rider 33, electric vehicle charging rider. This modification corresponds to BGE's previous filing, Mail Log 307516, where BGE stated that in consultation with the United States Department of Energy, that it was no longer offering the commercial fleet smart charge management program because of lack of customer interest. The deadline for customers to sign up for the commercial fleet program was June 1st, 2024, and no customers had signed up for the program prior to that date. BGE had previously indicated that the unspent funds that were originally dedicated to this program will be moved to the residential smart charge management program, which has had much more robust participation. BGE has confirmed that the $55,000 of unspent commercial fleet smart charge management incentive funds will be used for the residential program. Staff has no issues with the proposed tariff changes and recommends the Commission accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of July 24th, 2024. Thank you.
So, any questions for staff?
Good morning, Commissioners. Joel Michelle on behalf of BGE. We thank staff for its analysis. We don't have anything further to add. If the Commission does have any questions, I have with me Stephanie Leach, our Manager of Strategic Programs, who can field any questions.
Mr. Sussman.
Good morning, Mr. Michelle. I actually have a question that probably can be answered, hopefully, by your expert. I guess the question is why the lack of interest, and are you looking at in the future ways of redesigning the program so that you can gain interest? Because it seems to me that there's great opportunity here, and I'm sort of wondering if it's just an issue with the program that hasn't gained that kind of interest that we should be seeing in the commercial side of the equation.
Good morning, Commissioner. Stephanie Leach here. The commercial program under the Smart Charge Management pilot had limited availability as far as what chargers were available for commercial customers to use. We were only providing a select number of charger options for customers. A lot of commercial fleet customers already have chargers or were looking for specific level of charging. So the one model that we were providing to customers, some customers didn't feel was sufficient for what they were looking for. We were rolling out these these chargers on our existing Shell Recharge Solutions network. Some customers are already using a different network provider for their solutions. And so there were a number of reasons why our commercial customers weren't interested. Either they weren't further along in their fleet electrification journey, and one of our requirements is customers already needed to have EVs available, so it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. And so, there were a number of reasons why. I will say we are not moving forward with a commercial Smart Charge Management program under our existing Smart Charge Management pilot, but we are exploring a potential fleet managed charging program in the future.
Okay, and actually that was sort of so it sounds like maybe a pilot is actually not necessary, that you've kind of it's been proven out, and so BGE is sort of looking for ways to further incentivize without the use of a pilot.
Right. There were many lessons learned from our pilot, and we're taking those to kind of redesign a fleet managed charging
Okay.
program.
Well, I look forward to seeing the new proposals coming out of BGE. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. So with that, I move we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of July 24, 2024. Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve. Aye. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
And item number 8 is the Delmarva Power and Light Company's 2024 Year 1 MYP filing in case number 9681.
Chair.
Good morning again, Chair Hoover and members of the Commission. David Hoppeck on behalf of Commission staff. Delmarva Power and Light has completed year 1 of its first multi-year rate plan. Delmarva's Rate Year 1 annual information filing indicates that the company overcollected during that year, and as a result, under the Commission's ruling in case number 9618, staff, OPC, and other parties can recommend returning this excess amount, plus interest at the company's rate of return to ratepayers. Staff proposes to return this overcollection over the next 11 months, beginning August 1st, consistent with Delmarva's response to staff's data request. It is staff's understanding that the company and OPC are in agreement with returning the overcollection to ratepayers. Staff has reviewed Delmarva's rate calculation and believes it to be accurate. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates as revised by staff with an effective date of August 1st, 2024, and require Delmarva to make a clean tariff filing. I am available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? So, OPC, you have any specific other than you're okay
I
with
just
this?
want to quickly say, Julie Bell, for the Office of People's Counsel, we concur with staff's updated recommendation to return beginning August 1st, and we have no further comments to add to our previously filed letter. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Curry.
Kim Curry, representing Delmarva Power and Light. We also concur with staff's analysis and concur with the effective date being August 1st.
Okay, so with that, I move we accept the proposed rider MYP adjustment rates as revised by staff in its comments dated July 18, 2024, with an effective date of August 1, 2024, and direct the company to file a clean copy of its tariff revisions. Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve. Aye. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Item number 9 is a Smart Charge Management Program proposal from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. On June 4th, 2024, BGE filed a request to expand its residential Smart Charge Management Program. The Smart Charge Management Program began in April 2020 when the Exelon Joint Utilities, which included BGE, submitted an application to the United States Department of Energy for grant funding to conduct an EV charging demonstration project. On October 1st, 2020, they were awarded approximately $5 million in DOE funding to support the program. And on August 30th, 2021, the Exelon Joint Utilities filed a request to the Commission for authorization to implement the programs, which were approved on October 6, 2021. The residential smart charge management program is scheduled to end at the end of this year, December 31st, 2024. This filed proposed modification will allow BGE to continue to operate its residential smart charge management program through December 2027, however, without Department of Energy funding. The proposed smart charge management program will provide a $10 and $5 monthly incentive to customers with a qualified level 2 and level 1 chargers, respectively. The proposed smart charge management program will also expand eligibility from just Tesla customers to all customers who have a qualified EV with telematic capabilities or a qualified level 2 or level 1 charger. BG expects to sign up 30,000 customers, and that the program would cost approximately $15.7 million. At this time, staff recommends that the Commission deny the request to expand the program without prejudice and allow BG to continue to maintain its current program until the final evaluation by the DOE is complete. Staff is supportive of the SCM, but prior to the final analysis that's coming from the Department of Energy and its supporters, that it's just premature to expand it and spend an additional $15.7 million at this time. BG has indicated that their current enrollment levels would cost approximately about $1.5 million a year to maintain the program. So staff recommends that the Commission allow BG to maintain the program beyond 2024 while we are waiting for the final analysis in order to kind of continue the continuity and continue to allow customers to participate in the program. And then regarding customer levels, there isn't a established cap on how many customers Baltimore Gas can have in this program. Staff would accept a modest increase. So BG currently has around 3,200 customers. Staff would be okay allowing that to grow to just say 4,000 customers while we're still waiting on a final decision on this program and still evaluating the final reports from the DOE. And staff is available for questions. Thank you.
So, any questions for staff? Commissioner Schlichtman.
Good morning, Mr. McAuliffe.
Good morning.
In your comments, you suggested that the 3253 customers was relatively modest. And so if we were to allow them to continue to accept customers under the current structure of the program, would you anticipate, based on the levels that they've achieved, would you anticipate them going well beyond 4,000?
Based on conversations with BG, I think they could easily surpass that if they had the ability to. I think they're currently turning away customers. They can clarify that, but they've had a lot of interest, so that's why there really isn't a cap on the DOE program. It was kind of hazy at best. So I just thought we should at least establish some sort of cap, not because BG could easily go over 4,000 customers. They may have a better estimate on how many they could sign up, but
Okay.
According to them, they have robust interest.
So in terms of the BCA analysis, and you're waiting for the final numbers, is there any doubt in your mind about where the numbers are going to come out?
Sure. So I guess just to clarify, I know OPC brought up the BCA analysis. Staff is more looking for the analysis from DOE, so Argonne National Laboratory and one other entity. And they weren't looking just at the BSA. They were getting a little more in-depth than just the benefits of the program. So I don't expect necessarily a negative outcome, but I don't like to make an assumption on that.
But based on what you've seen already, is there any question in your mind about where the final numbers are going to be?
Yes, I would say, particularly at these levels, there is. So, like I said in the comments, staff is supportive of this program going forward, particularly if we have high levels of EV adoption. Just having time of use rates won't be sufficient, because now you'll have nighttime peaks and everybody will charge. Just say the time of use period begins at midnight, off peak. You'll start to get big spikes at midnight.
But that's where the management comes in.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're very supportive of this program in general. We just would like to see those final evaluations.
Okay, and you would like to see the program extended to L1 chargers, not to be limited just to L2, and that a participation beyond just Tesla owners to others.
Yeah. So staff was supportive of all the changes BGE made or is proposing to make. again, we just wanted to have that final evaluation before, we spend another approximately $16 million.
Okay, and that's because it's over a 3-year period. But if we were to accept BGE's proposal, but condition it on final evaluation of the numbers, then the proposed number would be significantly lower than 15 million.
Yes,
Okay.
it would. So there are some, what I'll call sunk costs. So, for example, the IT work that needs to be done, BG estimated, I believe it was around $2 million. So that, that would absolutely occur if you accept, conditionally this program, because just the IT upgrades necessary to allow the other customers and expand it to level 1. So there will be some sunk costs, but yes, I absolutely agree with you. It would be much less than $15.7 million
Okay,
at this point.
thank you. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Commissioner Richard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. McAuliffe. I'm interested just in overall program design. Do I understand correctly that one of the things staff would like to get, I think OPC as well, is just a better understanding of, between the, TV time of use, EVT time of use alone, the program alone, and then the two together, the SCM plus EV time of use alone. Is that something that we're trying to incorporate into this possibility of, I guess, part 2 of this program?
Sure. Yeah. So we're definitely trying to ascertain exactly what the additional benefit is of having the smart charge management on top of time of use rate. So as I stated to Commissioner Sussman's question, staff believes that these type of programs will be necessary, because if you just purely have time of use, as I stated, you will get those peaks. Staff did consider making it a requirement that the customers be on time of use rates. We just thought that may limit interest in the program if you start to make it conditional. And the fact that the Smart Charge Management Program will almost exclusively charge you off-peak anyway, even if you're on the off-peak rates, because that's how it's designed. Now, customers are kind of given a questionnaire where they can, provide their preferences, and you may be charged on peak sometimes, but that would be a pretty rare circumstance. So again, we just didn't think it would be helpful if you kind of put a condition on it. Now, it's only purely beneficial to the customers if they are on the time of use rate, because obviously they'll also pay lower rates. And the SCM, like I said, is purely always going to charge them off peak. So I believe, some of staff's questions in OPC was just trying to get a little better idea of what's that additional benefit of having the SCM versus just time of use rates, which essentially costs nothing to the utility.
Okay, so we are going to try to get the data for the 3 different scenarios then.
Sure, yes. And BG, did try to provide some of that data with their example of, that the 800 customers on a kind of a virtual feeder showing, they were able to reduce the peak. I think it was 33% based on their SCM versus the non-SCM. Yeah, it's on page 6 of their filing. So they did try to show, how there's additional benefit.
Okay, good. So you're satisfied that we'll make those improvements then if we were to go forward as you recommend. Also, it kind of popped out to me in your filing that some of the data is just based on assumptions and not actual data. Is that something that you're trying to hone in on a little bit, to trying to where possible get real data?
Yes. So obviously, many of the benefit cost analysis are usually based on assumptions and things like that. But yeah, we've heard that, this may help lower wholesale costs and various other factors. So yeah, and obviously with the size of the program, staff understands that's hard to ascertain at this point, because there's only 3,200 customers, so it's hard to tell if, that there probably has not been much impact, if any, on wholesale energy costs at this point. So, we did leave the door open to, could you kind of extrapolate that? And, what if you had 30,000 customers, 100,000? So yes, we would like to see a little more concrete data, and that's what we hope some of these reports from the DOE would show.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it just seems like there is so much data just with my own anecdotal experience.
Sure.
I mean, I'm always amazed by how much information I have just on my phone on historically, what times I've charged, how much, I was able to squeeze out of the machine at any given time, and and then really, cost. So it just seems like the data's out there. Hopefully we're going to figure out how to get that so we can be a little more precise in these pilots so we can design programs going forward. I was interested also just on the level of incentives. That I think it was noted as the most expensive part of this program. Are we thinking about trying to experiment at all with, where the right incentive is to get the desired outcome, but to reduce the cost of the program?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, in our comments we had a paragraph there discussing incentives. So yeah, staff would love to see different incentive levels. I believe we brought this up in the past with this program as well. It's kind of between a rock and a hard place because obviously you want customers to sign up for these kind of programs. They're new and innovative. They may not quite understand, so kind of you have to give them that little bit of incentive to join. But yes, in the future, we would hope these kind of programs would be kind of normal to customers, and they'd understand that, hey, you're going to be charged off peak, so you're saving money anyway, so you don't really need that extra $10 a month. But yes, that'd be happy. We'd love to see some analysis on that. You could, for example, sign up the first few thousand customers with the $10 incentive, and then maybe try 5, see if they still sign up in as greater numbers or not. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. At some point, we'd have to tackle that issue. But again, since it's a new program, maybe this would, help.
Okay,
get customers.
that's a good answer. I just, given that it is a major cost driver, it is probably something we should probably try to figure out if we need the incentive or in what it is. So great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sure. Commissioner Barvey.
Well, when it comes to evaluation of these kind of programs, is there some sort of effort at the federal level or the national level to look at incentives around the country, or is there just not enough around the country to study to focus in and determine, what works and what's too much money?
I can't speak to the federal level. Yeah, we'd be happy to look into that. I'm not aware of too many of these types of programs out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd be happy to look into it. As you would expect, a lot of EV programs around the country are pretty heavily incentivized, and
Yeah.
so.
I
Yeah,
always love to learn from other people's mistakes.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, OPC.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Mark Shebus for Office of People's Counsel. Like staff, we recommend that the Commission deny this application without prejudice, pending completion of the analyses that Mr. McAuliffe described and completion of a separate benefit cost analysis specific to the Smart Charge Management Program. And I'll elaborate a little bit on our position. By all appearances, this has been a good demonstration project. BGE has done good work administering it and securing the federal funds to support it. WeaveGrid has been a responsive and reliable partner, and the collaboration with the Smart Electric Power Alliance and the Argonne National Laboratory has gone well. We also think that this type of program, scaled up in the way that the company is proposing, will be necessary in the future, at least if we get the continuing levels of EVs that I think we all want. And that is because of the sort of secondary peak issue that Mr. McAuliffe also described. If we get a lot more EVs on the road, and most of those drivers are on time of use rates, you could get secondary peaks when all of those customers, or most of them, plug in at the times that the time of use rates are incentivizing them to. That could cause secondary peaks that stress localized parts of the distribution system. And in that circumstance, a program like the Smart Charge Management Program will be extremely important in smoothing those peaks out. And I think the program, based on what we've seen so far, has demonstrated that it will be capable of doing that. We're not persuaded, and we don't think that the company has shown that we're at that point where we need to scale up the program in the way that the company is proposing to do in this application. And there are two main reasons. Again, one is that we don't yet have the analyses that are, from the beginning have been intended to conclude this program and fully analyze its results. We expect those in the first quarter of 2025. And second is that we don't have a benefit cost analysis specific to the Smart Charge Management Program. We have a combined benefit cost analysis that looks at BGE's EV-only time of use rate and the Smart Charge Management Program together. And not sure why the company has done that combined analysis. I'm sure they can speak to that. I'm guessing that the answer will be, well, they already have the EV time of use rate, and therefore there is no use case in which the Smart Charge Management Program will operate alone without that rate. And that's true as far as it goes. But we think that the separate BCA is important, Commissioner Suchman, to the question you raised, whether by itself that program will have benefits, or not by itself, since it will be operating, but whether by itself it is cost effective goes to the question of how much we scale it up at this point. Because it feels a bit like we're in a situation where we could be putting the cart before the horse, and that certain benefits that the Smart Charge Management Program will deliver when we have more EVs and more people are on time of use rates have not yet materialized. And we just want to see the analysis that shows that at this point the company should be putting this much emphasis on the Smart Charge Management Program. When the company proposed its Phase 2 EV proposal last year, I believe it had a combined budget of around $10 million for both the EV time of use rate and the Smart Charge Management Program. So it raises the question of how much budget and relative effort the company is going to put into the EV-only time of use rates, which we expect to be more cost-effective at this point than the Smart Charge Management aspect. All that said, we do want to see BGE continue with this program. We think it's important, even if the great benefits will not materialize that soon, for the company to have the administrative infrastructure and the know-how to operate the program when it does become more necessary and will deliver more benefits than it's likely to in the near future. And for that reason, we continue maintenance of the program. As Mr. McAuliffe said, it's due to conclude at the end of this calendar year. We support continuation of the program past that date. In our letter, we posited a date of the end of June 2025 on the theory that by then, all the analyses will be completed, both the additional benefit cost analysis and the Argonne National Lab and SEPA analyses, and the company will have had time by then to resubmit its application with the benefit of that additional data. And we also support some modest amount of additional enrollment for the purposes of additional data gathering, consistent with staff's position. The one addition that we had to staff's position about allowing modest additional enrollment is for the company to target that additional enrollment to specific parts of BGE's system where data indicate there are more EV drivers and more likely to be grid issues when those EV drivers plug in. Given the low numbers that we have and the low numbers of additional enrollment that we're talking about, it's unlikely that we're actually going to see big grid effects from this charging. But we think it's important for the company to start develop this know-how to do this targeting, because it may be that in the future, targeting the Smart Charge Management Program as a sort of way to fine-tune charging when a lot of people are on time of use rates is the most effective way for the program to be implemented. And I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
So, questions for OPC? Commissioner Suchman.
Good morning, Mr. Shibas. So if the program, I guess I'm sort of trying to understand the benefit of a program, a smart management program that does not include time of use. I don't understand because all of the price signals that are important for a customer to make decisions about when to charge are lost without time of use rates. So if the program were to if there were a requirement going forward that any additions to participation would require the customer to be on time of use rate, would that give OPC greater comfort in terms of seeing better utilization of the program, higher benefit cost analysis?
I think that would probably be a good condition. I mean, that would ensure that or increase the likelihood that customers on the Smart Charge Management Program will save money when they charge. I mean, it's conceivable that you could have a Smart Charge Management Program operate without a time of use rate structure. By shifting customers' load to lower demand times, it would still have a benefit for the grid and for potentially wholesale costs, but it would not benefit the customer directly because the customer would not realize savings from that shifting of load. So we think that the synergy between the time of use rates and the Smart Charge Management Program makes sense, in part because of the financial benefits it'll deliver to customers. But I think we still want to see the analyses to determine the relative costs and benefits of each component of the managed charging.
Okay, would you see value, instead of having sort of agreeing to the full 3 years, would you see value in accepting the company's proposal with the condition that all new customers that sign up have to be on a time of use rate for a year until we get the data from Argonne and from the BCA, and then sort of be able to analyze that data, and then you would present proposals going forward, so that we'd have some additional data. We wouldn't lose the momentum of the program, but we try to hone in the what we think are the ways in which the program can benefit the system.
So to be clear, we're talking about sort of BG making the sort of sunk cost investments that it's been discussing, including the IT investment, and having a 1-year period where they can enroll additional customers.
Well, they've already got some of the sunk costs anyway. So if we were to allow them to expand the program to cover L1 customers, and they were able to go beyond Tesla-owned vehicles, and sort of continue the program, continue to collect data, but the program would require that anybody signing up has to be on a time of use rate, and then see what the benefits of that would be for an additional year until all of the rest of the data is collected.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner, one point of clarification. I believe that the program currently is open to level 1 charging, and that the difference in what the company is proposing now is that there would be a different level of incentive as between level 1 and level 2 charging.
And that was actually, I was unclear about that. I thought that it was only that only L2 customers were in the program now. Maybe Mr. McAuliffe, you can clarify that.
I believe Mr. Shibas is correct. Yeah.
So there are L1 customers in the program.
Yeah, the company can clarify, but that's our understanding.
Okay, because I'm looking at the staff comments now. Customers will be able to participate if they have a qualified smart L2. I guess that's the L2 charger. If it's okay. So, but there are L1 customers. I was under the impression that there were only L2. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we think that the changes would be to expand the program so that it's more than Tesla vehicles, whether they're charging with L1 or L2. Commissioner, to your proposed compromise, I think OPC could accept that. The one addition we would like to see is for the additional enrollment to be targeted in the way that we just described, because we do think that is likely to be the most beneficial way for this program to be administered in the future, and for the company to start looking at where do we enroll these customers rather than just sort of broadcasting its marketing. We think could both reduce the costs of that additional.
Can you sort of give examples of how you would go about more targeted marketing?
Well, I'm not an expert in this field at all, but I know that internet ads can be geo-targeted. They can be sort of specified to particular zip codes or even city blocks, in order so that certain customers see them rather than others. And I believe that that sort of online advertising is a pretty big component of how the company reaches out to its EV customers. So that's one example. I'm not sure that that would be the only way to do it. Probably it'd be the most cost-effective way to do it rather than sort of doing, say, direct mail to specific customers.
Yeah. Not sure how we can write an order that gets the, and it feels a little micromanaging. So I don't know how we can do it other than to say to BG, please do a better job. I'm not sure what else we can do on that one. And I'm not trying to be flip. I'm actually trying to. I'm sort of asking to see if you have a way in which we could. I understand. I agree. To the extent you can be more effective in any kind of marketing, that's always a good thing. I'm actually trying to see if you have a way in which we could write an order that could.
Understood, Commissioner. I would say that you don't need to write an order with that level of prescriptiveness.
Mm-hmm.
You could sort of write it in a general way that directs the company to do the targeting. And you can ask the company when they speak after us, but I believe that they do this sort of targeting in other parts of their program. So they can confirm that or not.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Okay, so actually, before we go to the company, let me check to see, is there anybody here from the Vehicle Grid Integration Council? Okay, so they filed comments about this. And is anybody here from EV Energy Corp? All right, they also filed written comments. So with that, let's turn to the wait. Do we have somebody here from that? Well, actually, if you want to say something, I need you to actually come up here. And if you want to say something, you're perfectly welcome to do so. So, and we've got your written comments. So,
for the record, I'm Matthias Bell with WeaveGrid. I'll hold my comments till after BG provides their comments, though.
okay. All right, so let's go to the company.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Joel Michelle on behalf of BGE. I actually won't be doing most of the talking and responding to those comments, but before I pass it over to our subject matter experts, I do want to highlight, one, just the level of collaboration between the company and OPC and staff. We've had several conversations about the right design for this program, so we appreciate the time they've spent considering the program. I also want to highlight the fact that I think we are in agreement on some essential points. And I've noted both from staff's comments and OPC's comments that we all agree that BGE's demonstration has been a success. And we all agree that managed charging is going to be very important. If Maryland is to achieve its climate goals, there's no question that managed charging is going to play a significant role. And I think the question is, when do we scale up managed charging? And I think Devesh Gupta, who I have here with me, will speak to the urgency and why now is the right time to scale up this program.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Devesh Gupta, Director of Clean Energy Solutions for BGE. Thank you for having me in today, Mr. Chairman, and fellow commissioners. I also have with me today Stephanie Leach, who you heard from, who has been our lead program manager on this as well, in case there are any very technical questions that I can't speak to. So she's available as well. As Joel pointed out, it doesn't feel like we're that far apart here, and hopefully I can try to bridge some of that distance as well today. We've definitely had numerous conversations and presentations with stakeholders, including OPC and staff, on both the current Smart Charge Management, or SCM program as we call it internally, as well as our proposals for expanding our demonstration of SCM over the next 3 years through 2027. We haven't seen disagreement or a lack of support for the the proposed SCM program design, as you've heard today, too. Certainly, there are some suggestions for tweaks, I think, that have been discussed today, and all parties seem to recognize that value, again, as Joel pointed out. We appreciate the concern that staff and OPC have raised in their comments and in their testimony today, too, in their desire for more data to evaluate our DOE-backed, our Department of Energy-backed program. And, we share in their desire to continue to evaluate the benefits of smart charge management to continue to further enhance and grow these programs in the future. We've been actively sharing the results that we get from our current DOE program in the EV work group as well, and in our regular filings with the Commission, as you heard from us even in the review proceeding for Phase 1 programs, of which this wasn't otherwise a part. And results have been available over the past 2 years from time to time, and we've tried to do that in real time. We'd be happy to expand our regular reporting as we continue to expand the program to both the EV work group and in our regular reports to the Commission to include the specific types of data and analysis that staff and OPC are asking for. I'd like to stress, though, and this point has come up a little bit today, that we have a relatively modest pool of customers enrolled right now. That's kind of the point of those very targeted DOE demonstration-funded programs. Just over 3,000 customers right now, and regarding L1, about less than 100 of those customers are Tesla customers that are just using an L1 charger rather than a level 2 charger at home, too. And that's across a wide swath of our territory. And so it's a very broad set of feeders across our territory as well, where all of these customers are located. Some of the primary discussion parties around the support and analysis, around the idea for support and analysis that we provided to date on those 3,000 customers, is that we've made assumptions by extrapolating a limited pool of data to show the value of SCM. The argument is that we need to wait for this Argonne National Lab report, and really for this SEPA, what's going to be more of a case study, so that we have final data on the DOE-supported program sometime later this year. The reality is that Argonne, just like BGE, is going to have to use that same limited pool of data and limited pool of customers that we've had in our SCM program to date, and extrapolate that data to make assumptions about how SCM could benefit BGE's broader grid in the future. And that's to say that the gap that parties see, for instance, in the support analysis that we currently provide is still going to be present with whatever report or data we get from Argonne National Labs. And mind you, we do have regular discussions and reviews of this kind of data with both Argonne National Labs, with SEPA, with the DOE, and the DOE has been very happy with those results. In fact, they continually call on Stephanie, as I have to help manage our workload, to come in and talk to other utilities about how we've designed our program in the demonstration and how we're thinking about it in the future and what those results have been. So they've been quite pleased as well. And that's not to say that the analysis isn't valuable, right? That you use limited sets of data to make some assumptions. It's just to point out that that's exactly how very early analysis in limited in scope programs really works, and how they're accepted and expected to work, right? That's why we do the things that we do, and start small and then expand and continue to evaluate. It's also why it's challenging to apply a BCA methodology to really any kind of demonstration project like our current DOE-backed Smart Charge Management Program and the expanded SCM demonstration that we've proposed. To be certain here, what we're proposing is to continue with a larger demonstration program for SCM where we address some of the gaps of the limited initial demonstration that we've already seen, right? The types of eligible vehicles, we've talked about that today, beyond Teslas, the types of charging equipment that customers can use and still take advantage of the program, customers' various profiles, the number of customers enrolled. I know that's a topic of consideration today, and the more flexible and mature program design. We talked about that with the fleet management program, and that's when you have a DOE program, there are very specific parameters that are proposed, and it's very difficult to vary from that. It takes a lot to try to vary from what you've initially proposed in order to expand anything. this is where we have the opportunity to take our learnings from what's been missing or where we see the opportunity for improvement, try something even larger, and gain more data. For any SCM program in the future, again, we've talked about this already today, there are certain investments that have to be made in order to drive equity, eligibility, enrollment, and effectiveness to support the grid. And the cost impacts of those foundational investments are they'll of course decrease as more customers are enrolled over time. So, just thinking about that as we think about limiting the number of customers that we might want enrolled in programs is important as well. And it's some of those foundational costs, as folks have spoken to today, that are a part of our expansion of, our expanded demonstration program here. It's been a challenging time, I think, for EVs over the last 5 years, where there was a lot of excitement in 2019 when the commission issued its order. There was a lot of product that was supposed to come to market, but during the pandemic, we saw a delay in that, and there was a global supply crisis. But now we're on the cusp of just a barrage of EVs that are about to hit the road from a variety of companies that already have products here. I know a number of you drive EVs as well, and aren't eligible for our SCM program right now, but also other auto manufacturers that haven't yet made place in this space, including more affordable EVs that are more attractive, that may be more of the SUVs and the pickup trucks and things that a lot of Americans and Marylanders like to drive. And it's important then that we make sure that we are hitting our stride and actually taking advantage of that moment at the right time. We really want Maryland to be ready to not only take advantage of these new EVs right now, but to support that transition in a way that limits the risk of disruptions that might challenge or slow adoption, and two, really creates an experience and value that's more attractive to our residents than owning an internal combustion engine right now. Speaking to that first part, when you talk about the challenges to potential challenges that might slow adoption, we can't talk about the system as a whole and the number of vehicles that are on the system as a whole, because it's not exactly how EVs work when you start to think about real-world experience. There is a keeping up with the Jones effect, right, where one of your neighbors gets an EV, people get interested, the next neighbor gets an EV, the next one. That is something that has been talked about in the marketplace. That can create a challenge on a feeder rather than on the system as a whole. And that's something that we have to protect against, because the challenge on a feeder could be a very big challenge when it comes to those customers' experiences and how much scrutiny is placed on that, and how much, especially with social media these days, how much of a view that challenge might be able to have in terms of an audience. And we don't want to slow that. So getting customers enrolled wherever they may be, on whatever feeder they may be, it's important for us to make sure that we can manage that load, because it may not be a system-wide problem right now until, let's say, there are 300,000 EVs on the road that we all want to see in Maryland. But if there are 10, 15 EVs in a neighborhood, it could be an issue in that neighborhood. And so just being mindful of that, making sure that we have the tools in place, that we've created a structure that's able to actually reflect where the market's going now in terms of EVs is going to be important too. And then in thinking about that second part, the experience and value for customers, that customer's experience is really important as well. And I think we've talked a little bit about this. If we do think about tweaks to the program design, one thing that our team at BGE, the EV team, is always trying to be mindful of is what's it like from the customer's shoes to just enroll. Is that an easy experience? Can we make it easier? Are there challenges to it? If they go to the website, they try to sign up, and we say, well, no, you're not eligible right now because you're not in an area of our grid that is most constrained right now. That's not a positive experience, especially early on in adoption. So just thinking through all of those things early on, having flexibility in program design is going to be important. I'll say the expanded SCM demonstration program will allow us to do all of this in a way at this really critical time, while providing an opportunity for more of that real-world data and the analysis, and laying a foundation for even better, more enhanced programs in the future. And that's what we're really seeking to do right now, is make sure that we are putting the right structure in place right now so that we can continue to be successful in the future in driving the transportation electrification transition.
Well, actually, before I turn to everybody else, let me ask two sort of fundamental questions. One, as far as the financing from DOE, that's over and done with, right?
Yeah, that we don't have additional funding. We are continually looking for opportunities for funding. There continues to be, especially in that EV space, certain places where we might be able to access things so that we can further enhance and expand programs, and we are looking for that. And you're seeing it even in our monthly reports. I think even in the last one, you saw some of the GRIP filings that were made or that we partnered with making, and some of those were focused on the EV space as well.
But the program that funded this thing is over and done with, correct?
That's right. Ours is closed off.
Sure.
The data set that they want is closed off so that the program can end by the end of the year.
And do you have any idea when this report that one of the labs is going to do might be finished?
I mean, we understand, and Stephanie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we understand that, it could be in the coming months, but there's not an exact date. I think that's true of both the ANL report as well as the SEPA case study.
Okay, Commissioner Barbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was surprised to discover that the smart charging program included level 1 chargers, and let me tell you why. My wife and I we live in an apartment, we have access to just a regular wall socket, and that's how we charge our cars. And we get an extension of range on the order of 4 to 5 miles per hour, which is fine because it's plugged in most of the time. But a level 2 charger, so a regular wall socket is level 1. A level 2 charger is going to be 20 to 25 miles per hour, 4 to 5 times more energy per hour than a level 1 charger. I don't understand why we would spend the money for smart charging devices for something as slow as a level 1 charger. I mean, that's sort of like my friend here mentioned, that's sort of like leaving a light bulb on.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we've discussed at length internally too in terms of program design. Initially, level 1 versus level 2 in the DOE program, we were only enrolling Teslas, and it was through vehicle telematics, so we didn't make that differentiation at that time because it would make the program more complicated, and we had to make an easy enough program to implement. As we thought about an expanded program, and should we make level 1 charging eligible, you can see there's definitely a tier in terms of identifying that, yes, there's a difference in value. But part of why we still thought it was important to include level 1, I mean, there are a variety of factors. But one of it is, especially early on in this, let's say this 3-year going forward period, it's important for us to educate customers and get them used to the idea of both time of use pricing, but as well as smart charge management. And you have some people that are making the crawl, walk, run transition, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. There are a number of those types of vehicles that are on the market. Getting them used to the idea of plugging in their vehicle, allowing access to the telematics of that vehicle, or not the level 1 chargers aren't smart typically, but the telematics of their vehicle, so that they understand that experience, and when they do, move to a fully electric vehicle, or if they're a 2-car household, they buy as their next vehicle an fully electric vehicle. They're already used to that experience, so that's important. The other, some of that can be, for us, it's thinking about equity as well, because there are customers that maybe can't afford the costs of installing a level 2 charger. Maybe their home really requires more upgrades than somebody else's home in order to have that level 2.
Well, I mean, precisely. I mean, the reason I asked the question is that if a person is in a place where they have those kind of cost challenges or wiring challenges, I don't understand why we would saddle them with an expensive a smart charger. It seems to me it's a little bit like when there are droughts, the government bans watering your lawn, but they don't ban how much water you use on the inside of your house. I mean, it's literally like the difference between one person who doesn't water their lawn and uses much less water versus the next door neighbor with the super green, gigantic lawn that is using up enough water for 4 families. I mean, to me, I see the difference between level 1 and level 2 in much the same way. I just don't see I don't see the argument for installing an expensive, smart charging device if you're just getting a trickle of electrons.
Yeah, and to be clear, for those that are in the level 1 program, we're not requiring, they have to enroll through vehicle telematics, right? If their vehicle has the telematics capability and is able to be enrolled in our program, then they can engage in level 1 charging and still receive a credit. So we wouldn't require that.
Okay.
For instance, yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for your presentation today. And again, I congratulate the program on how it's executed this program from the beginning. For me, managed charging was an essential part of what we did in this pilot, so it's great to see the work that you're doing. It also is great to hear that it sounds like all the parties are pretty close together on where you are at this point as far as program design, what the tweaks are. And if I'm hearing correctly, it just comes down to whether we expand it by 4,000 in a year or we look at to a 3-year window and we go 10,000. Is that correct? Is that one of the differences we're discussing today?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that may be part of what we're discussing. I will say on that number, we've got 1,000 Tesla drivers that are in queue right now that, next month, if we have the ability to expand an additional budget, those customers would be signed up. And we've got, I don't know how many customers that have called in wanting to sign up, but they don't drive a Tesla, that haven't been able to proceed even to get on a wait list at that point. So it is about those numbers, but behind those numbers and the expansion is increased eligibility, really.
Okay. So if we go with the staff and OPC recommendation, there is an expansion up to 4,000 over the next year. Is that correct? Is that how you understand what the various proposals we're looking at today?
That's at a minimum, but that would be without any changes in terms of what the platform is, because those Tesla drivers are there right now.
Right.
And have been waiting in queue.
Immediately 1,000.
Yeah, you're at 4,000 overnight, right? Not exactly overnight. End of year, we're not talking about 20,000 by the end of the year or 30,000 by the end of the year for sure, right? We first have to make the investments in the system that allows for the expanded eligibility, and then we have to administer a program, and that is, it's a 3-year budget, right? And a good chunk of that budget is incentives that won't get spent if the adoption's not there either.
Yeah, and that the other question I had is, the incentive. Right now, we're still looking at $10 for the level 2 chargers and $5 for level 1. And I kind of wonder, like my colleague, is it worth paying them $5? But again, I just wonder if the information we get over the next year will also help inform how much we pay in incentives, or if we need incentives of all, if we go with, as Commissioner Suchman, suggested, we just require everyone to be on time of use, and that in itself is the incentive, that they get that reduced rate. So that's kind of where I am right now. It just seems like right now you can tell me why this isn't right, but it seems sort of prudent to maybe get the data, allow for, I would say even more than a modest increase if we're going to 4,000 and you're suggesting in 1 year, and you're asking for 10,000 in 3 years. Why isn't that a good approach? Get the data. Hopefully that'll inform the incentive levels and maybe that bring the costs of the program down.
Yeah, I mean,
why is that not a good approach?
We're looking at we think that the market demand will be there to support 30,000 over 3 years, and it would be important if the market demand is there, if the EV adoption is going there, it's even more important that we've enrolled them in smart charge management because
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm hoping in the future everyone is on some kind of a managed charging program and we get them signed up for time of use. I'm just trying to look at this near term, finishing up this part of the pilot, and also trying to see if we can start looking at the cost of the program. And
Yeah.
right now, incentive is the big cost.
It's
of
something
the
that
program.
we've spent, again, a lot of time on and done a lot of research on as well with the help of Smart Electric Power Alliance. They've done that analysis for us that I think you were asking staff to do as well, to look around the country where are incentives right now.
Right.
We are not proposing at the top end. In fact, we're somewhere in the middle
Right.
of that. And so they've done some of that analysis in terms of where should incentives be. And we've then gone back, taken that guidance and thought about, okay, well, this is where we'll start. But the more, an expanded demonstration program, 30,000 is still not, it's not a huge pool when you think about the million plus customers that BGE has and how many EV drivers we want to see in the future, in the very near future. All of that will give us more of that data too, to also look at the incentives we have. Maybe we see that the $5 incentive, there aren't very many customers signing up to take it, and either that's indicative of, well, maybe it's not worth even having it out there, or maybe it's not so bad to have it out there because it's not really costing that much. And, we do some surveys of those customers of, hey, would you continue in this program if you buy a full EV and have a level 2 charger, those kinds of questions. That gives us that opportunity over the next 3 years to really evaluate what is the next step in a demonstration rather than continuing to evaluate the same program for which we have enough data to be able to design the next step program and grow eligibility, the types of not just automakers but also chargers, and continue to iterate on it and provide all of that information to stakeholders in the commission so that we can continue to think about. These programs aren't permanent, right? They can continually be enhanced. Yeah, absolutely.
Just wanted to make a couple comments about level 1 versus level 2 and the incentive. So we see that about 20% of overall EV customers charge with a level 1 charger. There are a significant amount of PHEVs that are out there and additional ones that are going to be coming out on the market where, Commissioner Barve, I don't know if you drive a PHEV, but a lot of those vehicles don't necessarily need an L2 charger to get them to a full battery in the same amount of time that a full electric battery vehicle would need. So we want to make sure that we're equitable in offering an L1 charging option for customers who maybe don't have a large battery and still want to participate, as well as offering L1 as a charging option for maybe customers who live in multifamily communities and want to participate in this program, as well as people who maybe don't have the availability of an L2 charger. Also want to point out that we are making other changes to our incentive structures that are eliminating free ridership, which will also bring down the cost of our incentive. So if a customer doesn't charge their vehicle at all during a particular month, they wouldn't get the $10 incentive or the $5 incentive. So we're being very prudent in the way that we're looking at our incentives to make sure that this program is going to be cost effective with the redesign that we're proposing here today.
Well, thank you, and I'd let my colleagues get in on this. I'm very much interested in seeing this program expand. I do have some, as I've said, concerns about getting the incentives right to figure out, because that is an important cost, and that's coming right out of all the other ratepayers. I'm also interested in how we're going to, again, move on to include other non-Tesla drivers. And that's, I think, something it's important to see how that's going to roll out. So I have to say, right now, I'm kind of leaning on the side of the staff and OPC recommendation, given we're just talking about a year and 4,000 increased. But anyway, I'll listen to my colleagues and see what they have to say and ask.
Can I make one additional comment on the incentives as well? We did do a research and analysis on national incentives. I know that was a question on incentives. We leaned on Smart Electric Power Alliance to do an analysis back in 2021 that's publicly available to see what other utilities are offering as far as incentives. And BGE decided based on that analysis to be on the lower end as far as what incentives we are offering. So the $10 a month is on the lower end. There are some utilities that offer an upfront enrollment bonus. We don't do that. And so we are, again, being prudent in what we're offering to customers for the
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so this is maybe Ms. Leach. I don't know if you can answer the question, Mr. Gupta. So for the 3,200 customers that you have now on the SEM program, do you have a sense of what the percentage is of those customers that are on also TOU rates?
It's about half.
About half. And they're always, when you sign them up, they're offered the TOU as an option, or they will request it?
It might not be at the same time. The TOU program has been around for longer than Smart Charge Management. We do take their rate into consideration when charging their vehicle. Customers sometimes sign up at the same time, but it's not necessarily at the same
Okay,
time.
but when they come to you to sign up for the program, and they get the $10 a month, do you offer also the TOU? Do you encourage the TOU? I mean, is this something that they will be aware of and they'll see the benefit of being on TOU? I mean, particularly because if you're managing their use, you're going to be managing them in a way that's going to send them to an off-peak period. So they're actually going to benefit financially from that.
That is correct.
Okay, so do you have a sense of why the 50% that didn't opt for TOU decided not to opt for TOU?
Some customers don't want to give up the control of their charging. I think that some customers also are on Smart Charge Management, not on TOU, because they might not be eligible currently for TOU. I think you may be aware that we're going through some enhancements for the TOU program to enable more eligibility. Currently, customers who are net metering or budget billing aren't eligible for that program, and we are reducing those restrictions that will enable those customers to become eligible. Additionally, I think some customers aren't enrolled in TOU because maybe they can't charge during those off-peak hours. I'm thinking shift workers, doctors, other people who maybe do need to charge during the day. The Smart Charge Management program does take a 24-hour cycle into consideration for customers. So it looks at an entire day of charging. So if a customer is charging at noon, it will still manage that customer's charging based on all EVs that are charging on the grid. So there is a lot more flexibility with Smart Charge Management in looking at what the grid load looks like and what EV load as a whole looks like, and making sure that we're not overloading the system. So Smart Charge Management provides a larger window of time to charge vehicles rather than just the much more limited window of TOU.
Okay, but I'm assuming that if you have enough customers not opting for TOU and are asking that they be able to charge during peak periods, then you're kind of losing the value of Smart Charge Management.
We still, as much as we can, shift them to off-peak times. We have right now about a 97% off-peak charging percentage for all Smart Charge Management customers.
Okay.
Including that 50%.
Right,
is
all
non-TOU.
customers, yeah, even the non-TOU customers.
Okay. If we were to allow you to make changes to the program, but to continue it just for a single year, I'm assuming it won't then result in a $15 million ask.
Correct.
Okay. So Mr. Michel is shaking his head. That's never a good sign. Okay.
No, that is correct. I was hoping to make that point because there seems to be some reluctance with respect to the cost. That's sort of what I gathered.
It's actually less the cost than the fact that there's still this analysis that's not done, and I'm trying to sort of figure out a way of allowing the program to continue to grow, because I see the real benefit of it, but still recognizing that there's this analysis that needs to be presented, and I'm thinking that a 1 year expansion while you're finishing the analysis and presenting it to us, and it'll be at the end of the year, but we're not going to make decisions. As soon as the analysis is presented, there's going to be comments, and so I'm thinking if you expand a program to next July, And in the interim, we'll have reviewed the data and be able to sort of decide, are we going in the right direction, or do we need to make modifications for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years? So you understand what I'm
Absolutely, and that was precisely the point that I wanted to make, to reassure the commission that approving BGE's proposal today would not be approving the $15.7 million spend, because that would not be spent in a single year. That would also give the commission the flexibility, as Commissioner Sussman, you just mentioned, to evaluate the data that comes out, and other stakeholders would have the opportunity to comment on that data and propose changes to the program, and the commission could take action based on that analysis and those proposals.
Yeah, but what would that be? How would that be different than if we just said, "This we're going to allow you to do this for a single year"? Because the advantage of having that be a single year means that there is going to be an endpoint. You will have to come to us and ask for an extension of it.
Yep.
So at least we'll know that there will be a point at which we will be reviewing the results.
Thank you, Commissioner Suchman. Just one point. I think that's it. Maybe that's a little bit of semantics, and that feels like it would be appropriate as long as we can make the investments that allow for that expansion.
Okay, so that's
And
kind of what I was asking is, can you provide us with, I mean, you've provided us with a number for a 3-year program. Can you provide us with numbers for a 1-year program?
Yeah, and I think those there are a number of the costs that are already that have been presented in the proposal, and they're there, and we'll begin that work. You know, you're talking probably about a 6-month time frame for some of the systems process work that needs to happen to really unlock the expanded eligibility and things. So even if we wait till next July, our expanded pool of data beyond the Tesla customers, it will be there, but it may not be as robust, of course, as it would be by the, as time goes on. But the system costs that are required aren't going to differ from the proposal that we have in front. It's really the incentives that will go away and some of the administrative costs of putting more incentives out the door and managing those incentives out the door. So, you see our IT and administration budget. That's really what we'll begin spending right now, so that we can be ready for that expansion.
Okay, but you can get us the numbers relatively quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we should be able to get you those numbers very quickly.
Okay, I'm still coming back to the TOU rate issue, and I understand for shift workers who really do need to charge during sort of peak periods. We don't want to unnecessarily burden them. But we still have a need for price signals to try to get people off the peak period and try to flatten the load. And so, I mean, I'm sort of inclined to want to have that be a condition, but I wonder if there are sort of, I mean, it could be a condition with a little bit of flexibility to the extent somebody can make the case for why they need to not be on TOU.
I think there's very strong value in TOU, of course, right? The legislature didn't go so far as requiring opt-out TOU rates in this last go-round, but they certainly did consider it. One of the challenges that I'd want to be mindful of right now is that TOU definitely creates, as you have expanded adoption of EVs, creates a nighttime peak potentially. As we look for electrification of homes and heating, that's also going to contribute
yes,
to nighttime
but that's
peak
the advantage of the management piece of
That's
it.
the
And
management
that's
piece of
why I think that they can go very nicely together. I just wonder if there's a way to have that be the default, that and to have an exception in place to the extent that a customer can demonstrate that they can't, that it would be unnecessarily unfair for them to be on that.
If that's the direction, it can be implemented. I would just add the additional color. As we think about smart charge management, it's not just about managing peak. We see it as an opportunity, particularly as we start to test some different things out, to also be one of the ways that we can unlock more decarbonization, right? If we can manage more of this load during times when solar is, on your home, or solar on the
Or you could
system
have vehicle to
higher.
grid, so
And
so it gives you, right, and no, and I
So
see all of
that
the
flexibility
benefits.
is certainly important. And then the other piece, just anecdotally, smart time of use. It's not just the shift work and things like that. Sometimes it's just preference and that security blanket of when I want to charge, I want to be able to charge and not have to pay more at those times. I'll give you access to managing my charging so that if you have a system event, you can make sure that I'm not overloaded.
Yeah, I'm not so sympathetic to the situation where somebody just wants to charge when they want to charge. I mean, that's not helping the rest of the grid. But I am sympathetic to people who have limitations on their ability to charge at particular times, and I think that's something that we probably want to take into account.
Yeah.
So.
I wouldn't disagree with, from not speaking from the company's perspective, but just generally, I wouldn't disagree.
All right. Okay. That's all I have.
Commissioner Barbe.
This is perhaps directed more at our staff, but I, for one, am unconvinced that level 1 charging needs to be managed. It's just so small. I don't get it. I mean, I got home yesterday after running errands, and I looked at my app. I drive a Tesla, and it said, you will be fully charged in 14 and a half hours, okay? Whereas my friend here plugs into level 2, and he's going to look at his app, and it's going to say 2.5 hours. And I would hate to have my battery charging cut off at 2 in the morning because somebody was mistaking my level 1 charging for a level 2 charger that's 4 to 5 times greater. So all I can say to our staff is, I'm going to need some very, very precise hard data to convince me that level 1 should be managed in this fashion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll say on that point, we do have strong data in order to make sure that we know who's a level 1 charger and who's a level 2 charger as well, but certainly understand the point.
Okay, so on this question of doing a BCA on just the smart charger program, I heard your comments about why you don't necessarily think that's appropriate, but is there anything that would prevent you from doing that analysis if we asked you to?
I'm not sure that there's anything that would present us from doing, doing some math, right, to analyze benefits versus cost to some degree. The challenge is, again, when you talk about early in time programs, those costs are larger as adoption is smaller. But a good amount of those costs is also fixed because you're making investments, long-term investments in a system that's going to be in place. So I think that's part of the caveat, but of course, we can always take things out of different parts of an overall proposal and try to provide some numbers. It's just, we would probably have to really think about what's the real value in that as a BCA, is that really reflective of the benefits?
Okay, all right. So, so the individual from WeaveGrid, you wanted to make some comments and just sort of maybe introduce not only yourself but also WeaveGrid.
Yeah. Morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Matthias Bowe with WeaveGrid. WeaveGrid is a software company that's been working in Maryland for about 4 years now, initially supporting the EV rebate program, and now BGE's EV time of use, as well as the joint Exelon Utilities DOE demonstration project around smart charge management. Look, on today's discussion of BGE's proposal today, it feels like there's strong alignment on SEM in terms of being necessary as well as valuable. EV load's growing. We're seeing it double every 2 to 3 years right now, and there's a need to shift that charging to the low-cost times. From our perspective, yes, generation, but significant amount towards the distribution system as well. All the comments in this record reflect that, but furthermore, 9478 has been going on for 6.5 years now, and every time this has come up for comments, stakeholders have said, shifting to low-cost times, managed charging is a very important thing, from environmental groups to consumer advocates to staff to the Commission's own orders. The relevant question today is around timing. of an extension and an expansion of a successful demonstration project. On the extension, there's been a lot already said on this, but I want to reiterate the importance of not turning the program off and avoiding stopping and starting. It's a negative customer experience that's frustrating, confusing, and also costly. There's been a lot of time, energy, and resources spent enrolling those customers who are providing value to the grid. On the expansion itself, from WeaveGrid's perspective, there is substantial evidence in this record already demonstrating the benefits. Managed charging and screening is cost-effective and will become more valuable over time as grid capacity is called upon to meet the state's EV ambitions. This is important for affordability, as people have discussed. It's also important for a resiliency of a grid perspective, where SCM is helping minimize loading on the distribution system. Also, WeaveGrid is not just a Maryland stakeholder. We participate in proceedings around the country. It's worth noting that commissions in other states have approved similar programs at even greater scale than this one. For instance, in New York, a state with similar EV ambitions, Con Edison has about the same number of EVs as BGE. Their program already has 15,000 customers enrolled in it. Xcel in Colorado, the Colorado PUC just deliberated on their transportation electrification plan. They ordered Xcel Energy not just to support 40,000 vehicles over the next 3 years, they actually said the incentive was not enough. In Xcel's case, they actually recommended tripling the incentive. So where we sit from WeaveGrid's perspective, we respectfully request the Commission approve BGE's request to expand the pilot to a full program. Doing so will enable customers to continue to participate while also growing a program that all parties agree adds value to the grid. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
So, any questions for WeaveGrid? Commissioner Sussman? No.
Just one. Thank you for being here today and for your presentation. And I think you're correct. I think we all agree that managed charging is an essential part of the pilot program, and we do need to make sure it's a permanent part of what we do in the state. But just interested to know how your company is working with the non-Tesla. Tesla has been a leader, but now more and more non-Teslas are being sold. Is your company reaching out to these new vehicles and making sure you can get the same kind of data that you're getting from Tesla, so that we can again make sure that all the vehicles that are being driven in Maryland can be a part of this managed charging program?
That's I really appreciate the question. We started in Maryland supporting Tesla only. Throughout the country, we're supporting multiple automakers, and we plan to support multiple automakers. If SCM is to move forward. In addition, for customers whose vehicles can't participate with the telematics, so they don't, we can support, our company can support networked EVSEs as well. Networked EVSEs have changed a lot over the course of this proceeding too, I'll add. Initially, we saw them as being very expensive upfront relative to non-network chargers. Today, you can buy some chargers for as little as $399 that are able to participate in programs like a smart charge management.
Okay, great. And just again, you know this, but EV drivers, a lot of us have these apps that provide all kinds of data. Is your company or other companies in your space trying to work on maybe other types of, I guess, managed products like a demand response or other types of virtual power plant? Anything that people could opt into and potentially participate in other ways?
No, I think that's a really interesting enrollment channel that we see as really promising. Is customers really trust their utilities to help them advise them on when best to charge. But you're right. Say like with Tesla, or I think you've mentioned your OEM to me before, or in these proceedings before. Customers are continuing to access that app for information. They are a potential enrollment pathway as well. So a customer could enroll in a program like SCM through an automaker app, and we find that a really compelling opportunity for enrollment.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, in terms of the other states that you're working with that are looking at SCM and are sort of encouraging their utilities to engage in these programs, how are they dealing with the time of use rate issue?
Yeah, appreciate that question. Every state's a little bit different. Isn't that a surprising thing to hear? I think in some cases, these things work really well on a flat rate. Customers plug in, they indicate to WeaveGrid's platform when they want to be fully charged, and behind the scenes, every time they plug in, it's being dynamically scheduled to the lowest cost times. Customers like that, they appreciate that, and a lot of times they are grateful not to have to think about this stuff very much. When it comes to tests like the ratepayer impact measure, actually preserving more of those benefits for the for the non-participants over the participants. In some cases, some utilities and some commissions have actually leaned towards, let's actually, even with the time of use, incentivize the customers a little bit less so that we can preserve more benefits for the non-participants. There is a trade-off always. The more you incentivize the customers in the program, that means there's less benefit going to everybody else.
Okay. Well, except that if you don't have to build out the grid, then that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. No, we're talking about societal cost test, utility cost test, and ratepayer. Well understood.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we actually have an order that's in the works related to the EV pilot filings that we got earlier this year. So we're going to incorporate in that order the decision we make about this particular program based on what we've heard today. So,
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
If with the chair's indulgence, if the company could provide us with the cost of a program as you're proposing it for a single year, that would actually would help me in making a decision.
Will do, Commissioner. And
Thank you.
we appreciate the Commission's time considering our request.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 10 consists of revised tariff pages from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Again, David Hoppock on behalf of staff. BG has filed 2025 Rate Year 2 and 2026 Rate Year 3 distribution rates in compliance with Order 90948 and case number 9692, BGE's second MYP. The Commission previously approved Rate Year 1 distribution rates in case number 9692. As part of the letter order approving the Rate Year 1 distribution rates, BG was required to meet with staff, OPC, and other interested parties regarding the Rate Year 2 and Rate Year 3 rates. BG met with staff and OPC and presented its proposed rates and then filed its revised tariff filings, tariff pages with updated Rate Year 2 and Rate Year 3 rates on May 31st, 2024. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the proposed tariff pages for filing with an effective date of August 1st, 2024. Staff is available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none?
Good morning, Commissioners. Beverly Sikora on behalf of BGE. We have no additional questions. We just appreciate staff and OPC working with us to get the rates in place for 25 and 26.
Okay, with that, I move we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of August 1, 2024. Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. Aye. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Item number 11 is the Bel Air Impoundment Property Tax Rider Reconciliation from Maryland American Water Company.
Good morning, Commissioner Chair and Commissioners. Mark Riley on behalf of staff. On July 8th, 2024, Maryland American Water Company filed a revised tariff pages updating the Bel Air Impoundment Property Tax Rider with an effective date of August 1, 2024, along with a reconciliation of the property tax rider. The company is proposing to refund the overpayment amount to customers by applying a one-time credit to all accounts. This filing was submitted in accordance with Order Number 89022 and case number 9487, issued on February 5th, 2019. Staff found the annual property tax calculation of $166,895 in attachment B was accurate and was $9,078 lower than last year because of a lower assessment. Staff also found the proposed surcharges in attachment C were sufficient to collect the $166,895 property tax amount. The bill impact for a residential customer using 5/8" service is a monthly decrease of 8 cents from $1.48 to $1.40. Staff also found the calculations in attachment F were accurate and the rates were sufficient for a one-time refund of the prior year's property tax over collection of $9,861. The bill impact for a residential customer using 5/8" service meter is a one-time credit of 99 cents. Staff recommends the Commission, 1, authorize the company to refund the over-collection amount shown in attachment E as a one-time credit on customers' bills in accordance with the customer service amounts shown in attachment F of the company's filing. 2, accept the tariff pages on attachment A for filing with an effective date of August 1, 2024, and 3, waive the 30-day notice period required under PUA Article 4, Section 4-203A. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you, Chair Hoover, Commissioners. David Beaglemans, this time on behalf of Maryland American Water Company. I'm also joined this morning by Mr. Scott T. Grace, the Senior Manager of Rates and Regulatory at American Water. With nothing to add to staff's presentation, we do appreciate the very quick turnaround on this filing. And we're here to answer any questions. Thank you for your consideration.
Any questions for American Water? All right. With that, I move that we authorize the company to refund the over-collection amount shown in attachment E of the company's filing as a one-time credit on customers' bills in accordance with the customer service amounts shown in attachment F of the company's filing. That we accept the tariff pages in attachment A for filing with an effective date of August 1, 2024, and we grant a waiver of the 30-day notice period required under Public Utility Article 4-203A. Commissioner Sussman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.